A very warm welcome to RTV News in English. My name is Gloria Mutesi. As we begin today's broadcast, let's inform you that earlier today, President Paul Kagame met with Dr. John Nkengasong of the Africa Centers for Disease Control and Dr. Senaid Fiseha of the Susan Buffett Foundation ahead of the meeting on partnerships for vaccine manufacturing in Africa convened by the African Union, the Africa CDC, the African Continental Free Trade Area Secretariat and the African Union Development Agency, together with the new Partnership for Africa's Development, NEPAD. Now this Sunday, the First Lady of Rwanda participated in Car-Free Day activities focusing on the theme of fighting gender-based violence. The event also saw the launch of a 16-day campaign in this regard. Sejnore begins our coverage tonight.
Also present were a number of officials and participants noted on the importance of fighting gender-based violence. I am eager to participate in such physical activities, and it is shameful what some other men choose to engage in, especially the fact that such crimes have been on the rise, which is why we must come together to denounce people who do such things.
My message to other girls is for us to come together to fight gender-based violence, regardless of your age.
Parents should be aware of their children's whereabouts at all times, the places they go to after school, and at what time they get home. It is both necessary and good. Adults were also reminded that they should be a good example for younger generations.
Let us first be good examples for our children when it comes to the way we act, and teaching good habits so that they can learn to protect themselves, because everybody must take measures to protect themselves and establish constructive ways in the way they live.
The effort people make to remain fit by engaging in sports and other physical activities was also used as an example of the sort of effort they should put into fighting gender-based violence.
The effort we make to stay healthy by engaging in physical activities comes to naught when a person becomes a victim of gender-based violence, which is why fighting gender-based violence should go hand in hand with staying healthy and fit, protecting ourselves and others.
The 16-day campaign will focus on a theme encouraging victims of gender-based violence to speak out and for the general public to fight the scourge.
A cross-section of youth volunteers say they are determined to do their best when engaging in such activities. This is while the world is marking International Volunteer Day, which is celebrated annually on December 5th, with this year's theme, Volunteer Now for Our Common Future.
42-year-old Ndaisenga Albert has been working around Kigali City for close to 2 years, urging people to abide by COVID-19 prevention guidelines. His day-to-day work involves walking around with placards with messages of adhering to COVID-19 regulations while utilizing speakers as well to spread the message. He says he quit his job to join hands with others to prevent the spread of the coronavirus pandemic.
I'm a motorist. I could drive a car and ride a motorcycle. I put that on hold. To tell you the truth, I didn't think the pandemic would last this long. When I saw the impact the pandemic had on my country, I asked myself what my contribution to the country would be in these times. So it's my love for the country that encouraged me to start volunteering.
Voluntary activities are also common among youth volunteers who say that contributing to the development of the country is what attracted more than 400,000 young people who are engaged in various voluntary activities across the country. The reason I chose to be a volunteer is because most of them are young people, and young people are the future of our country. So I also chose to give my contribution through voluntary work towards the development of the country. Nyarugenge District Executive Administrator Ngabonziza Amy says voluntary work, especially by the youth, contributes to the betterment of the community.
For instance, in Nyarugenge District, today as we celebrate International Volunteer Day, We have about 21 houses that were built and renovated by volunteers, both financially and through manpower. They also built kitchen gardens and helped advocate against malnutrition. Looking at just this month, the volunteers have performed about 20 million voluntary activities, just as the youth volunteers. The district didn't even have to have a special budget for these activities. They took it upon themselves as youth volunteers to do all this.
The volunteer youth coordinator, Baisenge Eric, says that voluntary work by today's young people is a source of inspiration.
Intego yacu ni ugukomeza guteza u Rwanda imbere kubera ko tujya dukunda kubivuga ko dufite umwenda twe nk'urubyiruko rw'iyi generation.
Our goal is to continue developing the country. We believe we have a gap to fill as the youth in this generation. In light of what the previous generations were able to achieve, the young people of the 90s have liberated the country, and those that came before them also having done impressive things, like expand the Rwandan kingdom hundreds of years ago. We therefore want to develop this country even further, moving into the future, protecting the values our elder brothers and sisters fought for.
Rwanda joins the world this Sunday in celebrating International Volunteer Day established by the United Nations General Assembly on December 17, 1985. It is celebrated annually on December 5th, and this year's theme is Volunteer Now for Our Common Future.
To other matters, with effect from next year, 2022, body organ transplants will be conducted in Rwanda, and citizens have hailed it as it will bring down the cost compared to the charges overseas. The transplants will be conducted at King Faisal Hospital. Now, the law governing the transplant of organs is currently undergoing amendments to reduce the legal age limit of donors from 21 to 18, as well as to establish who is to incur the cost of the operations to extract the organs. Let's now hear from Betty Mutoni.
Early morning at King Faisal Hospital, Mukanyima Primitiva had just completed an MRI scan on her back. She's among many who are willing to donate their body organs after they die in order to save the lives of others. I accepted that I can donate my organs to the needy, just as I can also be given, because it's a kind act and sign of love. I don't mind that my organs were to be donated to others if I were to die. If it were determined that any of my organs can be useful, I would be willing to donate them, just that I could possibly need a transplant myself. Donating organs to save others is humane, so I would be willing to do it. Among the body organs that will be eligible for donation are kidneys, the liver, corneal tissue, bone marrow, and more.
The corneal tissue that will be donated will be from the deceased, and it will be extracted from a person when it is still useful. Therefore, we shall get time to sensitize people so that people who are willing can donate their organs after they pass away, and they can be of use in the lives of those who are still living. This will start next year, and we now have specialists for that. And we are working so that the conditions of the operating theatre meet international standards.
The development presents several benefits. Here is much cheaper, whatever the case. It's not the same as having patients traveling overseas. Even if the costs were to increase here over time, it would still not be the same as paying for flights for a patient, caretaker, and the donor. The specialist in forensic medicine, Dr. Mushumba Herbert, explains the significance of using organs for the deceased in medical research.
For example, what we are experiencing at the moment, the COVID-19 pandemic, the early research that explained or that shed light on the actual manifestations and the actual damage that the virus causes to the different body organs was established through such initiatives like studying organs, studying tissues from deceased persons. So there is indeed a demand, and there is indeed an opportunity for us to conduct research, like I just mentioned, be it for the medical practitioners, be it for scientists, and also for medical students.
The Director General for Clinic Services in the Ministry of Health, Dr. Nihabose Colonel, explains how the law governs such procedures.
There is a consent form. Someone must consent either for medical purpose, for medical purpose, for organ being donated, benefiting from someone who is sick, and also consent form someone who can donate his body or his tissues for researches in medical universities. So there is a consent form, and we have some guidelines and some forms of consent form which will be filled by someone who can be willing to donate himself for various reasons I mentioned earlier.
The law governing the transplants of organs was published in the official gazette back in April 2012, and it is currently undergoing amendments to reduce the legal age limit of donors from 21 to 18, as well as to establish who is to incur the cost of the operation to extract the organs. Betty Mutoni, reporting for RwandaTV News.
Thanks very much, Betty Mutoni, for that report. To the judicial sector, lawyers in the trial of Claude Muhaimana that is taking place in Paris have noted that some witness testimonies have not been precisely consistent over time, although they've also observed that this is not uncommon when it comes to court proceedings, and this will not prevent the truth from coming out. Sam Kalisa now reports.
For the past 2 weeks, the Paris court has been hearing eyewitness testimonies in the case, both for and against the defendant. Though it has been noted that some of the statements made this time around are not carbon copies of others made earlier by the witnesses, in which case the latest accounts are what are being considered, and such occurrences are not uncommon as some may think.
Icyo kibazo dukunze guhura nacyo cy'abantu batanga ubuhamya.
We encounter that problem often. Say a person testified in the past during a charter court proceedings or elsewhere over the years, and now during this trial. So it's not surprising that every tiny detail or much in every case, that is really not an issue anyway, as long as it does not change the entire testimony as a whole. The defense lawyers in the case also agree that identical testimonies are not the most important thing in the case. Philippe Meilac finds that the issue is not testimonies that are the same but not identical, but rather representing all the clear evidences to the court. He asserted that with the long period that has passed without information on what happened, testimonies are very important. He acknowledged that even though there might be testimonies that are the same but not identical, as lawyers, they accept the fact that the genocide against the Tutsi happened.
The
important thing is not assessing why there are testimonies that are the same but not identical, but rather recognizing it. In a criminal case like this, the court cannot consider contradicting testimonies. What is clear here is that there has been extreme killings in Wisesero, so we as lawyers have no base to say that these eyewitnesses did not survive the genocide against the Tutsi. They are survivors, and that's very sensitive because they lost their loved ones, and that touched us as lawyers. On the issue of how the truth about the defendant's role is getting revealed, but with the same testimonies that are not identical, Richard Gisagara confirmed that there were other witnesses to be heard, and Philippe Meilac hopes for other witnesses to be impartial and provide reliable information. Sam Kalisa, Rwanda Television News.
As part of efforts to promote the game of tennis here in Rwanda, Cogebanque organized its annual tennis competition that was concluded this Sunday. Serge Nore has the details.
The Cogebanque 2021 Tennis Open was won by Megan Ingabire and Etienne Yijena in the women's and men's professional categories respectively, with Megan beating Joseline Omulisa in 2 straight sets and Etienne beating Bertra Karenzi in similar fashion. I felt confident about being able to win this competition. That is, if I did not get too tired, so I gave myself a week to prepare. This is my 4th final, and had lost the previous 3. Even those unable to win the competition this time around, despite taking the trophy on numerous occasions before, learnt valuable lessons. I play against Etienne a lot, and I can tell you that this time around he was the better player. Sometimes I beat him, and regardless of the outcome, we support each other as Rwandans. Organizers believe a competition like this does a lot to promote the game in Rwanda. The reason Cogebanque supports such events is because we as a bank want all Rwandans to be healthy and physically fit, especially our clients. Staying fit and healthy boosts the body's immunity, and that is important now more than ever. So supporting competitions like this and other sports is our way of showing our clients that we are with them in all aspects of life. The competition also featured other categories such as those for people with disabilities, amateurs, the elderly and youth. The winners of all those categories got awards as well.
So we'll leave it at that for today. It's always a pleasure to have your company. Have a great week ahead. God bless you and keep you. And until next time, I am Gloria Mutisi. Bye for now.